Morning, everybody. How you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I am Sean Butler. Bugsy's up in front. It's very foggy here today, so I don't think you'll be able to see her just now anyway. I hope you're all keeping yourselves out of trouble on this very cold Wednesday morning. Please do me a favour, guys. Smash the like button for me on the video. If you haven't already, then hit the subscribe button. And also, even if you have, double check that you still are. Hashtag YouTube shenanigans. Hit the notification bell and drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on today's topic. And we're 24 hours away, guys, from another Tottenham game. The big one, or one of the bigger ones, Tottenham-West Ham. And always a spicy encounter. Usually has goals and usually is one to remember. And I'm going to be honest, I'm going to say straight from the get-go here, even without Declan Rice, I think this is the strongest West Ham team that they've had in a long time. I think there's balance. I think there's strength, technicality, speed, exuberance, and a manager who can find a method to rally his troops for the big occasion. And for West Ham, there doesn't come many more bigger occasions in the calendar than Tottenham away. They were a header away on Sunday from a Jarrod Bowen header away from winning against Palace away from home, which would have meant 3 wins in 3 in the Premier League and 5 in 5 in all competitions. So they're a team in form. They're a team without many injury problems. I think they're pretty much full strength. I think Kurt Zouma's returning from injury, and there's a late fitness test for Mikel Antonio, but even if he is fit, I'm not sure he would start anyway. He's usually maybe more of a later option in the game to go direct as a target man. Something we'll have to be wary of. But in any event, their starting 11, for me, I'd imagine it's going to look something like this. Areola in goal, Soufal at right back, Emerson at left back, Kurt Zouma and Aguerd as the centre-half challenges. A midfield 3 of Alvarez, James Ward-Prowse and Lucas Paquetá. And then Souček on the left, probably Kudus on the right, and Jarrod Bowen up top. It's important to remember that a lot of that 3, maybe not so much Souček, but the Jarrod Bowen, Kudus and Paquetá 3 are very fluid. They can all be found in different pockets and can all create havoc. Pace, technicality, strength and a good eye for goal is shared amongst them. They're also very good in the air, very good from set pieces, which isn't something that Tottenham can naturally brag about defensively. And so I expect, we have to be very careful with how we distribute our fouls and our free kicks. James Ward-Prowse, one of the best free kick specialists in the Premier League. You don't want to be giving away free kicks in and around the area. Even throw-ins deep in our own half are going to be dangerous, certainly corner kicks. So Tottenham needs to be aware of that and not to be sloppy in what we do in our own final third. For Tottenham, team news is as follows. Injuries remain for Perisic, Solomon, Bentancur, Maddison, Van der Ven, Sessegnon. I think I may be missing someone else. But Richarlison returns, or he returned against Manchester City. He should be fully fit and available for selection, as is Pape Sarr. And Romero returns from a 3-match suspension. And so for me, Tottenham's team looks a little bit, or at least the back 5 looks pretty easy to select. After that, we have to get our tactics board out and think about this, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But the back 5 is Vicario, Porro, Davies, Romero, and Udogie. I've done that in a weird order, but I hope you can squeeze them in. Royal will sit out for Romero, and everything else will be the same. Now we've got some decisions to make around how we handle our midfield 3. For me personally, I'm going to say it. I don't think you can drop Lo Celso. I think he's a momentum player. I think he's without a doubt proven that he needs to be in the team, not just because of his 2 goals in 2 games, but because of his performances. And I think if you drop him back out now for Pape Sarr or for someone else in a concoction that we're going to talk about, I think it sends a really terrible message, and you'll dilute the value that you could be able to get from him going forward. So I think you have to have Lo Celso in there. I think you have to have Decky in consideration. Now, whether you play him on the right and you move Lo Celso into the 10, whether you do that from the start or that's a second half ambition, I personally would like to see the same midfield three as started against City. Bissouma, Lo Celso, Decky. I think Decky in the 10 has been a revelation. I think his performances in that role, then when he moves back out to the right for the second half, he's got the energy and the wind in his sails from his first half performances, and it carries him through. And I think he's too valuable in the 10 to shoehorn him back out to the right hand side just to make room for Pape Sarr. As much as I love Pape Sarr, his energy, his legs, his ability to cover ground, he is coming back from a hamstring strain, and I don't necessarily think you have to rock the boat too much to bring him back in and force the issue. I think he can stay on the bench, and I feel a little bit sorry for Pierre Højbjerg because a lot of people are calling his performance in the second half sensational against City and that Bissouma was terrible. And whilst I can see the logic in the argument, as I said yesterday, I think Bissouma is being... he didn't have a good game generally across the 90 minutes, but I think a lot of people are criticising him for the sloppiness in the third goal. But as I said yesterday, I think that you can't ask someone to play with fire and then be angry with them when they get burnt. Postecoglou encourages this model of find a way to move the ball forward, break the press, and if you do that more often than you don't, then you'll be rewarded more often than you're punished, and will suffer a few ill-gotten gains. That's the wrong phrase. We'll suffer a few mistakes for the long-term benefit in the higher frequency of opportunities that are created. And so I think that you need to keep Bissouma in and around the team, because you shouldn't punish him, as I say, for doing what he's been told to do. It's a tactical thing. So I'd like to keep Bissouma in and keep Højbjerg on the bench. So for me, let me know if you agree. Bissouma stays in the 6, Lo Celso stays in the 8, Decky stays in the 10 for the first half at least. Then you have the option of saying, well, what do you do with Bryan Hill? He wasn't good enough. And I was critical of Bryan Hill yesterday, and I still feel like it's right to be critical because he's a too volatile player, and against stronger opposition, he can sometimes just disappear into the pocket. But I think against Soufal, he's going to have better opportunities. Very few players, maybe I was a little bit harsh, because I think very few players do well against Kyle Walker in that position, especially when asked to take them on in direct responsibilities. It really isn't something that many players do very well at. And so, should we go easy on him a little bit? I'm not sure. If Ange Postecoglou wants to stick with it, I'm okay with it. If he wants to bring him out, then absent bringing Brennan Johnson onto the left, putting Decky on the right, Lo Celso into the 10, and then bringing Sarr in, then the other option would be to put Richarlison back in. And as I say, for me, the desire to see more of Decky in the 10 and Lo Celso in the 8 overrides my lack of willingness to see Richarlison. But I think Richarlison could do some bits against Soufal as well. And bearing in mind that Kurt Zouma is such a strong, muscular threat, I think that having Richarlison in could do wonders, or have added value, added attribution of value, both offensively but also defensively, for set pieces, for corner kicks and things that we will inevitably give up at some point during the game. You'd rather have Richarlison's aerial strength than Bryan Hill's. So I think that on that basis, if I do want to stick to my guns and see the same starting midfield three, and Bryan Hill shouldn't be a part of the squad, then I think you can make the justification to bring Richarlison in, pending that he's fully fit and up to the challenge. On the right hand side, I think you keep Brennan Johnson in, and then again I think you have options, and I think it's nice to see that despite our decimated squad from injuries from first team players, that we still have players that are stepping up. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg is such a consummate professional that when asked, he always comes off the bench and gives his absolutely everything. And it's such a well-rounded character that can do that. And I don't think there's many characters that will play as well as he did in the second half against Manchester City and not let the frustration of him not starting the next game conflict with his abilities in the next game when he comes off the bench. So I do expect him to come off the bench tomorrow night, and I do expect him to do very well in the second half. And I think that it's nice to have that option. It's also nice to have Brian Hill as an option. So whilst our squad is decimated, the fact that we have people like Lo Celso stepping up and commanding and demanding a continuation in the team, as I said in the immediate aftermath of the Man City game, it makes you rethink how you want to spread your budget in January around the midfield, because you have enough competition there, you have enough capability to get you through until the likes of Bentancur and Maddison are back in February. So for me, that's the 11 I would go with. Vicario, Pedro Porro, Romero, Ben Davies and Udogie. I start with Bissouma, Lo Celso and Decky, and then I would have Richarlison, Sonny and Brennan Johnson on the right hand side. If they're all physically fit, and then you've got Pape Sarr, Højbjerg and Hill as options off the bench, and obviously Veliz and Donnelly and whoever else to come back in, and Royale as well on the bench. And well done to Royale for putting in a good shift at right-sided centre-back for the last 3 games. Let me know your thoughts, guys. For what it's worth, last thing I'll quickly say to you is I'm not going to be around, I don't believe, for fan cams at the behind the south stand after the game. I've got an invite from a very generous man to go into the Tunnel Club for tomorrow's game, and I'm very, very excited about experiencing that, but obviously that will prevent me from getting out to the south stand exit after the game for fan cams. There's a chance I might be able to, so if I am, I'll be there, but if not, you'll see me there for the same usual spot for the Newcastle game on Sunday. But yeah, guys, let me know, like, subscribe and comment, but let me know your thoughts on your 11. How do you see it going? I see them being goals for both teams. I've said 3-1, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was 3-2. There's so many great games at the moment. Did you see last night's Luton Arsenal game? Unbelievable encounter. Arsenal scrape it through by the skin of their teeth again last minute. Mentality. It's all about mentality. Like, subscribe and comment, guys, and as always, bye bye. Bugsy.